Hi, it's Dr. Marian Owen coming to you from my front porch. I'm recording outside because when I'm inside my house, I have to wear a mask because I'm just getting over what I assume is an infection with COVID-19. So I thought it'd be better to be out here. If we happen to hear the Cooper Hawk call, I will point it out for you. That's one thing I've learned in the last few days sitting out on my porch a whole lot. Um, there it is. We have a Cooper hawk nesting somewhere in one of these trees, and he talks a lot. So I'm afraid you might hear him and the occasional car going by. So bear with me. My goal is to do two things with this video. One is to talk about the current state of COVID in Georgia, and the other is to let you know what we're doing in the office currently to um, prevent spreading COVID as we try to help you. So I'm going to do those two things. The first will be the COVID news. Hang out at the end if you need to hear what's happening in the office. So first, I want to address something I've gotten a few questions about. There was a report this week that the material that you make your mask out of can profoundly affect your risk of contracting COVID. So whether or not the mask can actually protect you. As I've said in previous videos, we know that any mask is good at preventing spread, but when we're thinking about the increasing likelihood that this virus is being spread by tiny little aerosol particulates, could it be that a different mask material might be more protective? And there was a study that is being reported in a very there's something you can do, yay, yay, yay kind of way, and it indicates that using HEPA filter material within the mask can be very, very effective. If you go and look at the study, that study design was not a human being wearing a mask. That study design was they took the material and they took particulates, and they put it right here and blew the particulates through the material, right? So that's interesting, but that particulate that was being blown through was sealed entirely by the material. Done that way, so like with 100% seal, there was definitely a difference. HEPA filter, vacuum cleaner filters, or air duct filters definitely work better. The problem with that is, and it's the same reason why I say there's no point in you just going and buying some random N95 mask. It's not going to protect you more. Because if there was a 1% leak, meaning that if any air was coming in around the edges, the filtering capacity went down 50%. So that's a bummer, because I know if you've noticed, if you wear reading glasses, you've noticed that when you have a mask on, your glasses fog up. Well, why is that? Because the air is channeling right out through the gap in the mask between your skin and the mask that's right there and going right up like a little wind tunnel into your glasses. So whenever you put on a mask, you're breathing through mostly the material, but also around the material. And that's why they're not perfect. That's why this isn't like, oh, going to solve it all if everybody would just wear a mask. But if it's just a 1% leak, does 50% drop, unless you're going to tape a HEPA filter to your face, which I don't recommend, you're going to be breathing around that filter, and it's not going to make that much difference. And anywhere that the HEPA filter is, if there's cloth around it, there's going to be leak around that HEPA filter, and that at this point, that is not actionable information. I don't think you need to change your mask. I don't think you need to go out and buy new expensive HEPA filtering masks. That's not going to fit your face well enough. So if when you're wearing your mask, you can smell the perfume that someone else is wearing, it's got a leak. That's how you know with like a N95 mask that's leaking. So of course you can smell everything through this. We're not filtering out the aerosols. This is not to protect you. It's to protect other people. You should still be wearing it. Absolutely 100% wear your mask, because we know that if sick people or contagious people wear a mask, they will prevent their spread to another person. And that gets me to the next point that I want to make. Here in Georgia and in most states in the country, we are now entering the point in the growth curve of disease that we call the exponential phase, which means that every infected person is infecting at least 2 people. And that means that we're going to see a rapid rise in cases and a rapid rise in, 3 weeks from now, mortality from these new cases. And so my recommendation to you is that you act like there's a shelter-in-place order going on. Return to your home. Stop going out. Stop feeling like you can safely move through the space. We really can't. If you are an essential worker, I am sorry. I hope that you are advocating for yourself at work, that they are using as much protection as possible. In our office, we certainly are trying to do that. But if you are able to work from home, if you are able to stay home, if it's ever a choice between should I or shouldn't I, right now, shouldn't. You should not. You should stay home and keep your social circle very, very small. So that brings me to questions I'm getting about testing, the various types of testing. So first we're going to talk about I think I might be sick or I might have been exposed testing, and then we're going to talk about antibody testing. So the testing that you get when you're sick or you're wondering if you might have been exposed and that you have the virus, that you go to a testing site, they put a swab up your nose, and they're looking for actual protein from COVID virus. So that testing is most effective and most likely to detect the disease later in the course of infection. So like if I went to work and I saw a patient who later told me, oh, I had COVID-19, they told me, say, the next day, I tested positive. My exposure was the first day, and on about day 7, that test becomes its most positive predictable. So anytime you get a positive test, it's probably right? So the positive tests are correct. The problem is the negative tests. The shorter a time period is between your exposure and your test, the less likely that test, a negative test, is to be accurate. So like in the first day or 2 of illness, a negative test might be only 68% accurate. By day 7, it's about 80% accurate. So by day 7, if you have a negative test, you probably don't have COVID. That's the best test we have right now. And so my fear right now is with these long lines we have at the testing centers, that might indicate people are going to get tested. That's great. But we want to be getting tested at the appropriate time. So I think if you've heard you have an exposure, really the appropriate thing to do is quarantine and then test at day 7. The testing at the standard testing sites, at the health department testing sites, I understand from patient reports this week, about 2.5 to 3 day turnaround time for that data to come back to you. So you would stay quarantined until you know the result of your test. And if your test was done on 7 days after exposure, you can pretty well count on you can get back to being around your family and living your life as you had been. That's still 10 days of quarantine. It's better than 14 unnecessarily. So what about if you have symptoms? Well, if you have symptoms that are very, very specific for COVID, fever, cough, the fatigue, I just can't even tell you, the fatigue is not like any I have ever experienced. It is genuinely just lie down. Gravity, I think, tripled for 7 days on this planet. So it is a hard fatigue. And I would say that is the most common symptom of the mildly infectious people, according to the reports. And that was me. It was my only symptom, really. It was just that fatigue. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating. You can probably see some remnants of that in this video right now. Just I'm not feeling as sharp. I'm not feeling like I'm tracking things as well. And so that would be a big symptom to me. Fever, cough, GI symptoms seem to be very dominant. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. I didn't want to eat. It was like everything was just stopped. So it wasn't nausea, but just bleh. So those are, if you're having those symptoms, and especially if you've been mostly quarantining yourself anyway, so what else are you going to be being exposed to right now? The thing that travels easily through the air, COVID. So if you have those symptoms, you probably have it. So getting tested, it's helpful from a public health standpoint, but is it helpful from a you standpoint? I think only if you are worried about like how many people have I been in contact with, I need to notify a lot of people, then it would be good to get a positive test because that gets people's attention rather than just I'm sick. Um, the If you are living with someone who would be at high risk, it would certainly be good to get a test result. That 7-day negative would be lovely to see, but you should absolutely act as though you have it, and you should stay away from those people as much as you can within the setting you live in. So if you're not sure, give us a call. To get testing, we are not doing that because our test, we sent mine to LabCorp 9 days ago. Still no result. May never know. But the only way to get them now is to sit in your car for 3 to 4 hours at a testing site waiting. I understand that right now, like you go to the Department of Public Health website and you take a little I was exposed or I have these symptoms questionnaire, and they say you qualify to get tested. And then they'll give you a number when you make an appointment. Now, the appointments are booked out like 2 weeks, so that's not very helpful. But they're booked out 2 weeks, but they go ahead and give you a number. And my understanding is you can take that number to any testing site, get in line, and the lines are actually operating in a first come, first served way. So although I couldn't get an appointment at the Department of Public Health till a week from now, so that's why I sent my nasal swab. I have since learned that you can take that number and get in line and do it, but that does mean that the lines are 3-4 hours long. So if you're really, really sick and it's pretty obviously COVID, I would say just assume it's COVID. And that's what I would do. That's what I did do personally. Well, I sent that LabCorp test. It's useless. But okay, so then the other type of testing, and again, if you have any questions about whether or not you should get tested, call us. We'll walk you through it. Antibody testing. I'm going to get antibody testing because I don't know if this was COVID. I'm going to have my family members get antibody testing, and we're going to do it a week from now. So 2 weeks after they might have been exposed. Because what I want to know is, did I expose them? Did they fight it off so they had asymptomatic infections? We've all been quarantining. We did Instacart for the first time today, but we've all been staying home, not being around anybody at all for this last 2 weeks. But I would like to know if they had it, mostly because if they have, they can go with me to go see my father. And if they haven't, because of the case numbers in Georgia, they can't. But if they've had a recent infection, we as a family have decided we can feel confident enough in some immunity for enough period of time that we can go up for a visit. But those antibody tests, I don't know. We still don't know. What does it mean? What we do know is that right after infection, your antibody tests are very likely to be positive, although not always. But we also know that those antibodies drop fairly rapidly over not a very long period of time. So then, are you still immune? Were those the antibodies you need to have immunity? They can just be testing you for any protein on that virus, and maybe those antibodies aren't protective, and we're not really testing against the protective antibodies yet. It's just all very, very new. So I'm not a huge proponent of antibody testing. And again, if you want them, we can give you an order for that to take to LabCorp request. But I don't know how really to help you interpret the results. And I would say no matter what they are, and I'm going to continue to act like you might get it again and continue to be safe and socially distanced. We don't know you to be immune. So those are my thoughts on where we are with COVID and current information. So what is the office doing? Because we are having rising cases in Georgia, we have closed the office until Thursday because of me, because it was Thursday that I got sick, so it'll be 2 weeks Thursday that everybody in my office would have been exposed. They have also been tested. We don't have those results back and may never have those results back, but happily neither Susan nor Anita has had any symptoms. But for that reason, we were waiting for the test to come back, but it never came back. So we finally just said, look, nobody else come in and out of the office because we don't want to be a conduit. So until Thursday of this week, we're not having patients come through the space at all. on Thursday, that will be more than 5 days since my last symptom day, and it will be 2 weeks since exposure for anybody else. So that is safe. We will open back up, but not really. We don't want you just coming in the door. So we are putting a hold all physicals that are not time sensitive. So we're going to continue to do our well child physicals up to, I can't remember what age, but call the office and they'll remember. And we are continuing to do vaccine visits. We are going to continue to do like the college physicals that are required for kids going off to college, or school physicals that are required to get into school. All of those we will continue to do. But like routine, you're healthy, fine adult living in this world on your vitamins, on your medications, and you're feeling fine. We don't want you coming in for a physical right now. We might expose you, you might expose us. We're not doing that. So we're putting that on hold at least until August. We'll see how things are going in August. We're asking that you not just drop by the office. Sometimes people come by with papers to drop off or something like that. Please call or email or use the portal to let us know what business it is you need, and we will tell you the safest way to get that business done. And that is for everything. So when you call for an appointment, we will figure out if it can be done over the phone or if we absolutely have to have you come into the office. But even if we have you come in, we will have you come over, stay in your car. We will do the bulk of the visit over the phone. If there is some physical exam component or some lab component that we absolutely have to get, we will have you walk in. You will walk into our room with a HEPA filter in it. You will keep your mask on. Don't come to our office without a mask on, please. If you don't have one, of course, we will provide you one, but we're running out. We can't get any more. So if you please bring your own, even if it's just some little flimsy excuse for a mask like this, those seem to be helpful. So we'll have you come right in, go into the HEPA filter room, do only in person the thing that we absolutely have to have you in person for, and have you leave again. And then, of course, we're cleaning the space as carefully as we can between patients. So even if you come in just for one thing, we're going to call and do a screening beforehand. So just come, wait in your car at your appointment time. We will call you. We'll go through everything you need to do. At the door, you will have your temperature taken. You will have your pulse ox checked. We'll make sure you have a mask, and we're going to spray you down with some hand sanitizer. All of those things are going to happen before you can come into the space. I know that sounds like a lot, and it sounds insane, but it's not insane in the current environment. I have always been somewhat cavalier about infectious precautions, and I'm not on this. I do not want to be a source for you, and I don't want you to be a source for my staff. We're trying really hard to be able to continue to provide you the care you deserve, and for that we have to stay healthy. This last week was a real blow to our ability to do that. Happily, it was a really quiet week. I don't know, somehow the word got out in the universe, and you guys, you didn't need much this week. So it was great. Thank you so much. So those are our COVID updates on our newsletter, which should be coming out later this week. I am going to go ahead and tell the whole story of being a COVID victim because it's just, I think it's a good learning case. And Susan is going to have some information for you about neuroprotection, but I wanted to get this out just because there is some important information for you. So I hope that was what you need. I hope that you continue to be safe. I hope that you continue to find moments of peace and happiness. And please take care of yourself. And if you're not sure what that means, call us and we'll walk through the safest way to do whatever it is you're feeling like you need to get done. Okay, be well.